Hi my loves, welcome back or welcome to my channel. Welcome if you guys are new. Today we have our monthly wrap up to go through all the books I read in the month of March. I feel like March was a crazy good reading month. Well, like really good average. I think the lowest rating we had was a 3.75, which is still an incredibly good rating in my books. So I'm super excited to chat about all of these books we read. Read a total of 9 books this month, which considering how many assignments I had this month for uni, I'm not complaining. Like I feel like that was a pretty good amount and we definitely prioritized quality over quantity for this month. Like 9 books is still a good amount, don't get me wrong, but I have been running on a 10 streak, so I was kind of hoping to get 10 books read in March as well. We had to break the streak. It's fine. Next month we're aiming for 10 or more, maybe. I don't know if we're being optimistic. But yeah, we had a lot of really fun reads this month. I got to like 4 books on my TBR. I didn't get to The Last Starborn Seer and The Shattered Spears, but I got to everything else. So I'm pretty happy with that. That was a good start. I am aiming to read those other 2 this month anyway. And then I feel like I was really outside my comfort zone this month. Like genre-wise, we had 4 fantasies slash romantasies, 1 contemporary fiction, 1 historical fiction, crazy I know, 1 sci-fi, and 1 romance. So we were definitely like all over the genres this month. I'm very proud of myself for going outside my comfort zone. But yeah, without me rambling more, because I feel like we've got a lot to talk about, we're gonna be talking about all the books I read. So let's jump into it. The first book I finished in March was The Heart of Betrayal by Mary E. Pearson. This is the second book in the Remnant Chronicles. So I read the first book in this series like a long time ago, I think over a year ago. I was very nervous going into this thinking that I wouldn't remember anything, that I'd have to like really remind myself of everything that happened in the first book. Surprisingly, as soon as I started getting back into this world, everything came flooding back to me. I'm not going to talk about the second one, obviously, but in the first one, we are following Princess Leia, who has run away from her duties because she doesn't feel like she's ready to fulfill them. She doesn't have the skills she needs. She runs away to this very like little village and starts working as a tavern maid, an inn maid. There she meets 2 mysterious strangers. One of them is the prince she had been previously meant to marry in an arranged marriage, and the other one is an assassin who has been sent to kill her. She doesn't know who either of these people are, and she starts to get to know them. Things start to unfold. I feel like this is a really politically heavy book, but like in the best way possible. It's all about like hierarchy and different royal happenings and like what's gonna happen if this kingdom pulls out on this, and like we need to make an alliance with this kingdom. Gives very medieval political vibes, and I really enjoyed that. Also, this is a bit of a love triangle and I'm not hating it. Do you know why I'm not hating it? Because it actually makes sense. Like it actually makes sense. The reason I hate love triangles is when like our main protagonist cannot make her mind up between the 2 of them and she keeps going back and forth because they both love her so much. That really annoys me. But this one, I feel like the context makes so much sense as to why she's confused. And it's not like she's like completely obsessed and infatuated with one person and then runs off to the next person. Like the love triangle makes sense, and I feel like context makes a love triangle worthy. That's what I'm saying. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. The ending of this really upped my rating for it. I feel like it was really good. It was very much like a journey book. It very much felt like a second book in a trilogy, to be honest. We were learning more about our characters, learning more about our world, and as I said, the politics in our world. Also, these kind of bigger things had happened in the first book, and we were watching the kind of trickle-down effect of these things happening. So it was very much like a big journey, putting things together, delving deeper into this world. It felt a little bit slow at times. That was probably my main complaint. Like I did feel a little bit, not bored, but I was just like, things could pick up now, you know? I want to say the last third of this book, maybe even less, maybe the last quarter of this book was absolutely insane. Now I cannot wait to go on to the 3rd book in this series because I'm just like, what just happened? I don't know whose side I am on for the love triangle, for everyone asking me. I constantly get questions. I don't know. I actually don't know. I'm more drawn to Caden and I don't know why, but I don't know, okay? I will figure it out, I guess, in the last book and then I'll have a solid answer for you, I hope. But yeah, overall, I was really happy with this one. There were definitely themes that made me nervous, like a love triangle going into it. I was like, am I gonna like it? Am I gonna remember what is actually happening in this world? And I was very pleasantly surprised. So I gave this one a 4 stars. Had a really great time. Could have been a little bit faster. Very much had like that second book feeling, but apart from that, really great. Speaking of second books in series, I then randomly, like on a whim, picked up The Rag Picker King, which is the second book to Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. Now, I read Swordcatcher whenever it came out, so what, like 2 years ago now? Mainly because we all know I'm a really big Cassandra Clare fan. So this is her first adult fantasy set in a completely new world, separated from the Shadowhunters. And I was like, I'm really excited to see her in a new world, in an adult fantasy setting. I did did enjoy Swordcatcher, but it very much felt like setting up the whole world. It felt like setting up the politics, setting up the magic system, getting to know our characters, everything like that. It was very simple and quite dense, to be honest. So I wasn't obsessed with it, but I like appreciated it and was like, oh yeah, I'm excited to see where this series goes. For that reason, it took me a long time to pick up The Rag Picker King. Cannot explain to you how much I loved this book. This book was a 5 stars for me, and I would never have seen that coming. I loved our characters in the first book, but this book made me just fall in love with them so much more. I cannot wait to see where they go now. Basically, if you don't know what Swordcatcher is about, we are following Kel, who plays the role of Swordcatcher to the prince. His name is Connor. So basically, whenever Connor is meant to make like a royal appearance or meant to be at this ball or something like that, but his safety is questioned, and you know, there might be threats or it just might be an unsafe scenario, they will make Kel go in as like a body double and almost like a bodyguard, like a protection. So the prince is still seen at these events like he's meant to be, but he's not actually there because of safety reasons. And then we are also following what's her name? This protagonist always escapes my mind. See, the thing is, I mixed this up because Kel and Delilah are in Dark Shade of Magic, and it's Kel and Lynn, that's her name. We are following Lynn. She is a physician, and she kind of lives on the outskirts of this world. So this world is very culturally separated. Like, there are different communities in this world, and if you're not part of that community, you're seen as a pretty separate citizen. So when these characters' paths cross, it's very kind of different. There's a lot of different social and cultural backgrounds going on. And I feel like that really influences the kind of, I don't know, dynamic of the group, but I loved it. In the second book, oh my gosh, so many things happened that had me jaw on the floor. Also, there are two subplots of romance in this series. Cassandra Clare can do a slow burn like nobody else. If you like a slow burn when it's actually like you just see each other across a room and then you get like little butterflies, or you might be like a brush for hand and you're like, oh my gosh, that kind of slow burn, read this, because that's what you get in the first book, and then it slowly starts to build in the second book, and it's so good, and I finally got what I wanted. I was so happy, but then we end on like this crazy note, and now I'm like, I have to wait such a long time for the third book and the final book in this trilogy to come out, and I don't know how I'm gonna last. So I like loved this so much more than I expected to. I actually originally rated it a 4.75, and then I was like, you know what? I haven't stopped thinking about this book, and it's been like 2 weeks since I finished it, so I think I need to go for a 5. I actually think this is where Cassandra Clare thrives. Like, seeing her in an adult fantasy setting was so wonderful, and I feel like she put so much work into Swordcatcher, and like this book, The Rag Picker King, she just like let her creative freedom fly. She had the best time plotting this, and like you could tell. The next book I got to in the month of March was A Stage Set for Villains. This is an ARC copy, so it looks a little bit different, but this was actually our Patreon book club pick for the month. So it was so fun to read this with you guys. We basically have like a chat on Discord, and we can all talk about our thoughts whilst we're reading it, once we've read it, and then we had like a big group discussion towards the end, talking about all the characters and plots. Honestly, it was so wholesome. I loved chatting with you guys. If you guys are part of the Patreon over on the podcast, thank you, because it was so much fun. I had the best time. In A Stage Set for Villains, this was probably one of the most unique fantasy standalones I have ever read. Let me just say that. We are basically following our main protagonist, Riven, and she has been cursed by a player. In this world, there is this thing called the Playhouse, like this theater called the Playhouse, and it's a traveling theater essentially. The players, or like the actors in this theater, are almost like these siren-y type people. They are incredibly beautiful, incredibly tall, and on the stage they will draw you in. They will capture the audience. The only way that you're not going to be like infatuated with these players is if you were like magically marked, which makes you not be like almost hypnotized by them in a way. Like, they just infatuate you. And I found that whole premise so incredibly amazing. The first few chapters of this book literally had me so hooked. I could not stop thinking about it. It's a very haunting atmosphere. If you like Rachel Gillig, I feel like you'll like this. It's just the same kind of vibe. I can't explain it, but yeah. Please, if you like Rachel Gillig, please read this. So we're basically following Riven as she tries to like find a way to break this curse. She stumbles across the Playhouse and decides to compete in this deadly competition to be one of the players, essentially. We have some of the most incredible chemistry I have read in a book in such a long time. The banter between two of our main protagonists is insane on another level. The balance between romance, action, plot, and like secrets was so good. If you are the kind of person who likes to like pick up on clues as you're reading a book to try and figure out the ending, you will like this. I feel like there were so many clues throughout this that thinking back to it, I'm like, how did I miss that? The whole dialogue is really, really interesting because we have like this really strong influence of theater. Theater also influences the magic system as a whole. You can suspend reality, you can fake your death on stage, things like that. Basically, the magic system is influenced by theater, and I found that so fascinating. I'm also a theater nerd, so I don't know if I just liked it more because of that fact, but I found it so much fun. It was just so incredibly unique. I've never read anything like it. I will say I was totally addicted to the first act because it's split into acts like a play would be. I was so addicted to the first like act of this book. I could not put it down. By the middle of the book, or maybe like the third quarter of the book, I felt like it was a little bit slow. Things were definitely happening, action was happening, but I just was a little bit more removed for some reason. I felt like I was getting a little bit irritated at our main protagonist. She was quite an irritating protagonist. I think that's the point, but she was a little bit irritating at times. But yeah, I just felt quite removed and I wasn't as engaged as I was. It was quite a dramatic shift. However, the last act of this, like, wow, I was so addicted to it and my jaw was on the floor. I could never have seen this ending coming. So it's a very kind of conflicting book in my mind because there was so much I loved about it, but there were moments where I felt really removed from it. So yeah, I gave it a 4.25 for that reason. I really played around with this rating. For some times I was like maybe a 4, other times I was like a 4.5, could not make up my mind. So I settled somewhere in the middle and I think that was the right choice. Next, I randomly picked up Broken Country. It's been on like my mental radar for a long time. I've been seeing a lot of people read it, a lot of people love it. And I've kind of always just been drawn to it and been like, historical fiction though, not really my thing. I don't know. Anyway, I saw it at the library. It was finally available for like a week's loan and I was like, you know what? Sure, let's pick it up. Picked it up, read it in like a sitting. That's a lie. I read it in 24 hours though. It was really, really easy to read. Honestly, starting to make me think I should get into historical fiction more because I really, really enjoyed this one. I definitely think I'm quite picky when it comes to historical fiction. This was more historical fiction in the sense that we were set in the 70s, like on a farm, following a family. I don't even know how to explain this plot, to be honest. We're following this couple who has had something really tragic happen to them and they're kind of just navigating their way through life since this has happened. Somebody then comes back into their life that our main protagonist has a lot of history with and things start to really unfold and get quite messy, to be honest. We also have like jumping timelines. So we're jumping to the future, to the past, figuring out all this history that like clearly has happened and is influencing the present. It's a very interestingly structured book, but it keeps you quite engaged because of that, I think. And I think that's what made me so addicted to it. Like knowing that there was something that happened in the future that I needed to figure out how that happened and why that happened and what it was that actually happened because it was kept quite vague until the very, very end. So I feel like that kept me really, really engaged. The characters themselves, really unlikable, to be honest. I was kind of going, why are you doing this? Like, you're almost self-sabotaging at the moment. And that kind of annoyed me a little bit. But also, again, I think that was the point. I think our characters were meant to be confused and they were just trying to navigate their way through life. I gave this one, what did I give this one in the end? I think I gave it a 4 stars. Yes, I gave this one a 4 stars, non-spoiler, but there were parts of the ending that I was like, yes, this is really like a form of closure for me. This makes a lot of sense. And there were other parts where I was just like, jaw on the floor, what did I just read? And then there were some parts that felt a little bit, like I was like, oh, I kind of wanted a little bit more from that. It was a very short book. Like I think it was under 300 pages, but a lot happened in that time. I feel like I have a lot of mixed feelings towards this one. I did enjoy it as a whole. The fact that I read a historical fiction that quickly, I think says a lot, but it hasn't stuck with me like it has with a lot of people. So I think it definitely depends on your reading experience, on the types of books you read. You may really, really enjoy this one, but for me, it was amazing in the moment, but I've moved on from it quite quickly, I think. One that I have not moved on from quickly is Recursion by Blake Crouch. This was insane. This is a sci-fi. I'm just getting into sci-fi, okay? I'm very new to this genre. And this was very different because it was like science fiction in the modern world. I've read science fiction in space. I've read fantasy science fiction. I've never read a science fiction in the modern world. And the best way I can describe this book is it feels like an action movie. I was very separated from the characters, which I'm not used to. If you know me, being connected to the characters is really, really important for me. I need to love our characters. I need to be rooting for our characters. This almost felt like you were just watching your characters on a screen go about these insane activities. If you like Inception, you will love this book. There are so many layers to this world. I don't know what you'd call it. This situation? Layers to the science? I'm not sure. A little bit difficult to follow, but also Blake Crouch writing is really easy to read. It's very, very immersive. You get very quickly drawn in. The basic premise of this is we are following our main protagonist, Barry. He is a New York City police and he has this encounter with somebody who has false memory syndrome. This is basically an illness that is overtaking society, embedding your brain with these false memories. So you may suddenly one day remember this entire another life that's completely different to your current one, but it's fake. So it starts to play with your mind. You don't know what's real, what's not real, what memories are real, what memories are false. And yeah, it's starting to kind of overtake society. Our main protagonist, Barry, starts to look into this and try and figure out why this is happening, how to stop it. It's an insanely complex plot. It really takes a direction that I didn't expect, but in the best way possible. Like when I'm telling you, the layers to this book, insane. You guys have been telling me to read this for a long time, and now I truly understand why. Please let me know if there are other Blake Crouch books I should read straight after this, because I loved it. And I think his writing was so, as I said, really easy to read, really, really immersive. Like once I started reading this book, could not put it down. And I was busy, okay? I was very busy. Every spare moment I had, I was like trying to get some reading in because I could not stop thinking about it. So if there's books that like I should go on to straight after reading that one, because that was my first book by him, please let me know. I gave this one a 4.25. The plot, masterfully executed. The climax of this whole situation felt like it was just going uphill the entire time. And I'm like, how much more intense can we get before this, like everything just explodes basically? So that was incredible. The only thing that really separated me from this book was, as I said, I didn't feel connected to the characters. I don't think you're meant to at all, but it just was weird for me. I'm not used to not like rooting for our characters and being like, yeah, you've got this, I believe in you, you're amazing. Like our characters were just kind of there. And it felt like, yeah, you were just watching them. So for that reason, I did give it a 4.25. It probably could be a 4.5, to be honest. Like it was incredibly good, but I just felt quite separated. The plot though, so intricate. The detail that went into it was insane. Another era that I finally re-entered this month, like this is what I mean. We had a very big genre kind of month, was romantasy. This is Starside by Alex Aster. This is her newest release. By the time I post this video, this will be out, but I read this throughout the month of March because I got an arc for it, which by the way, like this is a little 3D sword. One of the most beautiful arcs I've ever received. Like it is stunning. So yeah, this is a romantasy. Obviously Alex Aster is kind of known for writing romantasies, and I have a very interesting relationship with her books because I actually really like the plots she creates. Like I think they're really fun, entertaining fantasy plots. I'm not always obsessed with her protagonists, and I'm not always obsessed with the love stories, and her writing is sometimes iffy for me. So that like, it's a very, I don't know, like it's a very 50-50 relationship. However, I was excited to read this one, and when I tell you, this got me back into my romantasy feels. For some reason, romantasy has just not been hitting for me recently, and I was really, really sad because I was like, ugh, you know, I love a good romantasy. It makes me just forget reality and immerse myself into some other protagonist's shoes and just be in this fun fantasy world. It was really sad that it wasn't hitting for me. All I wanted to do was read high fantasy. I feel like I've taken a good enough break that I can jump back into it, and honestly, yeah, as I said, I had a really, really good time. So Starside, we are basically following our main protagonist, Aris. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her name. Aris, we'll say Aris. But we are following her as she decides to compete in this competition. But basically hundreds of years ago, this world was split into Starside, which is like the kind of more wealthy, powerful, magical side of the world, and Stormside, which is where people like fight for scraps of magic and are just trying to survive. She is from Stormside. She enters this competition that allows her to try and cross to Starside and then venture across Starside on this epic quest to find a pool of magic that can grant any desire she wishes. However, this pool is like somehow related to the gods in this world as well. However, she doesn't actually want magic. She's on this trek for revenge because the gods very, very cruelly just killed her family basically. So she is trying to get revenge on that. The reason I had so much fun with this was because of the magic system and the mythical creatures and mythical people that we had. I feel like we had an overwhelming almost amount of magical things going on in this world, but it was really fun. It's very much like Crescent City, where you just have so many magical beasts and beings and creatures that you just get so overwhelmed, but also you're there for the vibes. That's kind of what it felt like. And we're basically just going on this massive epic journey, and I forgot how fun it is. I gave this one, I think, a 4.25 stars as well. That was a very average rating for me this month. The romance I didn't actually mind as well in this one. It was very much a slow burn, and the ending actually upped this a lot. It was getting a little bit overwhelming, and also the writing was very repetitive for me. So that definitely brought it down a few points, but yeah, there was definitely moments where I was like, I thought you just said that. I think she very much thrives in an adult environment, an adult fantasy environment. Not that this felt too dramatically shifted by any means, but you know, adult characters, I guess. And yeah, the romance was pretty solid throughout the entire book. Very like small interactions. There were moments I was like, did we need that? But yeah, compared to my experience with her past romances, I quite liked it. Then the ending is what really brought this a 4.25. The ending really shocked me. I feel like Alex Astor does a good plot twist, to be honest, and I didn't see this coming. I don't know whether you probably could see it coming, if I'm going to be honest, but I feel like I was just having so much fun in this world. I was so distracted by everything going on. It didn't cross my mind, to be completely honest. I feel like there was a good sense of mystery throughout this entire book as well. Like there was definitely some unknowns that we were trying to get our head around, and I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, I'm very excited that I'm back in my romantasy feels. I forgot how fun it is, and I definitely am craving to jump into another romantasy and just have a great time. All right, the next book I read in the month of March was Just Friends by Hayley Pham. So this actually only came out mid-March for Australia. Different publishing dates for some reason. I went into the bookstores ready to pick it up on like March 2nd or whenever. Wasn't there. Honestly, was really pleasantly surprised. I haven't been reading. I read 2 romances this month. I lied, 2 romances actually. I haven't been reading romances too much, but now and then I've been picking them up and they've been very refreshing. This was actually probably the first like proper summer romance I picked up this year, even though it's not summer anymore. It was like, yeah, kind of the first summer vibe romance. We are basically following Blair, who is returning to her hometown of Seabrook which by the way, loved that hometown, so vibey, because her aunt is really, really sick and she played a really big role in her upbringing. So they're really, really close and she wants to be able to support her. When she returns to her hometown, she decides to get a job at the local coffee store just to bring in some money to help support everything. And she doesn't realize that the owner and manager of this coffee shop is Declan, her high school, I want to say high school sweetheart, but like high school best friend. She hasn't seen him in like 4 years and it brings up a lot of memories. It was a very sweet, gentle kind of romance. I gave it a 3.75. The main thing that kind of confused me was the fact that this felt like a very YA kind of book. The characters' mindsets felt very YA. It was very, yeah, as I said, kind of gentle. Definitely had some depth to our characters, which I really, really appreciated. And I feel like that definitely helped a lot, but it felt quite YA in just the writing style. The thing that confuses me is that we are following adult characters. And I feel like the situations that they're dealing with are a lot more complex and mature, and it's not something that you would read about in a YA book. So it was just a little bit genre conflicting for me. Also, I'm not a fan of YA romances. I don't really read YA romances. So that's another kind of, I don't know, just preference thing, I guess. It felt very much like Lynn Painter meets Emily Henry to me, which I kind of was expecting because we know that they're 2 of Hayley's favorite authors. The thing that brought it down for me was the 3rd act breakup. I thought it was quite, like, not anticlimactic. Not that a 3rd act breakup needs to be something crazy and big. It just felt kind of, why did that cause all of this, if that makes sense? I was expecting a little bit more, just considering how separate they've been for such a long time and how much trauma is clearly in their past. I was expecting a little bit more. So for that reason, I brought it to a 3.75, which I think is still a really good rating. And it was really great to see Hayley. She really found her voice throughout this book as well. I feel like it really had a lot of character towards the end. And yeah, it was a really, really easy book. I read this so quickly, so I would recommend picking it up. I actually went on to another romance after that, In Her Own League. This is kind of connected to the Windy City series. I don't know if you'd say it was like part of it, but like I definitely wouldn't read it unless you've read the Windy City series, because we are following, basically, in Caught Up, we are following Miller, and she is nannying for one of the team's players. Why did that take me so long to think of that word? Anyway, we're following Miller. She has a dad called Emmett, and in this book we are following Emmett's love story, which is very much like a fan love story. We've been wanting him to have a happy ending for such a long time. He's the team manager for this baseball, highly sought after baseball. I don't know, what's the thing with baseball? I'm not like the Premier League, I don't know. The professional baseball people. And then we're also following Reese, who has recently taken over from her grandpa as team leader. She owns the entire club, basically. And we're basically following their love story. It was really wholesome, really cute. Interesting, because I've never read a love story following people of that age. Like, I think Emmett was in his mid-40s, which isn't like old by any means, but I've just never read a love story with older protagonists like that, to be honest. I will say, like, this is so bad of me to say. I am so aware of how bad this sounds, but there was a little too much sport for me. Like, I love a sports romance, don't get me wrong, but I love the idea and like just the atmosphere and the vibe of the whole like billionaire sports team. There was a little bit too much of like the analytics of like the strategies and the plans and the politics behind the game. I got a little bit bored in the beginning. That definitely lessened throughout the book, but in the beginning it was quite heavy because they both are such like strong leading roles in this team. What I did find really interesting was how Reese was stepping into this very powerful position as a younger woman. I think she was in her 30s, and the kind of older team managers that had been there for a long, long time were not having it. They were not having a woman step in and be their boss. Like, it was really interesting to see how she could stand up for herself. Honestly, amazing, strong, independent female main protagonist. Loved her. She endured so much and she handled it so, so well. A lot of respect for that. I gave this a 3.75 as well. A lot of similar ratings this month. I thought it was good. It wasn't nearly as good as the other Windy City series books I've read. I can't even tell you why. I just felt like it was a little bit too long. I think it was like 400 and something pages. I didn't think it definitely could have been 100 or 200 pages shorter, just because I feel like we got a lot of unnecessary information. We got a lot of unnecessary back and forth. Which really annoyed me as well. But like, I get that their situation was very interesting and it was hard to navigate, but there was a lot of back and forth and I was kind of just like, guys, you clearly love each other. So yeah, it wasn't my favorite book by Liz Tomford, but I did think it was fun. And if you've read the Windy City series and are a fan of our characters, we did get to see a lot of reoccurring characters in that one that we like know and love from the Windy City series. So if you wanted to see where their kind of happily ever after has ended up, especially like Kai and Miller and then Kennedy and Isaiah, we saw a lot of them, then yeah, it's fun to see them again. It's fun to hang out with our family. The last book I read in the month of March, oh God, I'm losing it, guys. End of the wrap up and I'm losing it. Was In Her Defense by Philippa Malika. Now, this was a Reese Witherspoon book club pick, which is why I picked it up. Again, a contemporary fiction, guys, outside my comfort zone. This was a really, really interesting read. Nothing like I've read before. We're basically from the point of view of, you think, an objective person. And we're following a court trial between Anna Finbow, who is this kind of public figure, and she claims her daughter has been brainwashed and manipulated by a therapist, Jean Guest. And basically her daughter emailed her one day and was like, I'm separating myself from you. I don't want you to contact me. And that was because she had started seeing her therapist that apparently had uncovered a lot of traumatic childhood memories and she was working through them. So this whole court trial erupts and we are following the trial take place, but we also have different timelines going back into the history. Our main protagonist, Gus, is like kind of like an assistant to Anna at this time, and that's why she is involved in the court trial. But honestly, a lot of secrets get uncovered in this. It's very much one of those like wealthy people who have a lot of secrets, trying to figure out who is manipulating who is actually telling the truth. It's very interesting. I gave, can you guess, a 3.75. I just feel like that's a really good rating for when you enjoy a book, but you're not overly obsessed with it and not completely addicted to it the entire time. Maybe a 3.5, but I feel like that was a little bit too harsh because I actually had a really interesting time at reading this. I thought it was really, really engaging. As I said, so many secrets come out. The writing was really interesting as well. I quite like watching this trial unfold. I was definitely expecting more of the trial. Like, we definitely delve a lot into the past and what led to this trial rather than following the trial as a whole. And I kind of would almost like it if we focused more on the current age, was exploring the past through the trial, if that makes sense. I think I would have enjoyed that a little bit more, and it's just kind of what it's pitched as because it says, like, it literally says we're following a trial. But overall, I did really enjoy it. I thought it was really, really interesting. I definitely want to be reading more contemporary fictions. I would pick this up if you love contemporary fiction and if you just love court trials, which for me, that's a big yes for me. I love a court trial. I don't know what it is about it, but I find them so engaging and so interesting. It did take me a little while to read as well. Like, it wasn't necessarily addicting. When I was reading it, I was having a great time and I was really immersed in the story. But as soon as I put it down, I kind of separated myself pretty quickly and kind of forgot I was reading it, if that makes sense. Honestly, quite interesting writing. Love the cover of this so much. Just like a good contemporary fiction for me, branching outside my comfort zone. I feel like I don't have too much to say on it. But yeah, those were the 9 books we read in the month of March. Thank you for sticking through this video. I feel like wrap-ups, I just ramble and ramble and ramble. And then I'm like, oh my God, 40 minutes has gone by. And which obviously when I edit it, it won't seem like that. But yeah, and I've just talked about only 9 books. Anyway, thank you for sticking with me. If you have made it this far, thank you so, so much. And leave a comment below on what your favorite read for the month was. Thank you for watching till the end. I love you guys so, so much. You truly mean the absolute world to me. And I will see you in my next video.